you're watching GearWire.com. I am Owen O'Malley, and we are here with Shawn Rosenblatt of Netherfriends. On the album, are we listening to like you performing, or is it like a bunch of other people? Is it a hired drummer coming into play on recordings?
For the newest album, I played drums on quite a number of songs, maybe like a handful of them, like four.
And it's Barry and Sherry is like the most recent release.
Recent full length, yeah. I had a few drummers come in and play a couple songs, like maybe it's half and half, pretty much. I mean, there was some stuff where I actually played drums with like a sampler, and just play with my fingers, and then had a drummer come in and play cymbals over that, just to give it a bigger sound. And I love that when people ask me like, oh, how'd you get that drum sound? I was like, with my fingers, like and just kind of like doing it all yourself, so it sounds like a real drum set rather than having a drum machine going.
This is the SP555. Is that what you play the drum stuff on? So it's like everything except for samples on? Except for cymbals, I mean?
Yeah, cymbals, and sometimes I just have the drummer play over it. And sometimes I also there's one song where I beatbox on the on one of the songs, which is the first time I've done that. And I've been doing that live too, is like looping beatboxing. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, I've seen some bands do that.
Is it hard to find a drummer that can play along with a sort of a sampled drum kit?
We haven't done that yet live. I don't know if I ever want to be that band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many bands like that where I'm sure there's going to be bands at Pitchfork where there's going to be a guy wearing a headset or wearing in-ear monitors, and something about that, I just can't get into that.
Yeah. There's no reason, just like a feeling?
I don't know. I guess, yeah, I don't know. I would love, like, there's certain songs on the new album that I don't think we could ever play because there's so much. I mean, I always say that, like, even with the EP, there were songs on there I was like, we're never going to play these live, and then we figure out a way.
Right.
And I think that's what's so interesting with bands is that you can see, I love when I see a band play and their live set's way different than their recording. I think there's so many, I guess that's why I don't like people who are in-ear monitors and anything like that with the metronome, because it sounds like you're playing to like a karaoke type thing where it's all this pre-recorded stuff. And I do like pre-recorded samples that kind of fill out the band, as like I have a lot of bassy samples, but nothing really rhythmic most of the time.
Is there sort of a basic philosophy when you're trying to adapt a recorded song for live performance, or is it just kind of like how do you pick what elements are sort of necessary for a song?
There's no rhyme and reason about it. I don't know how. I just kind of decide. It evolves. I feel like that's what's great about YouTube. I think a lot of people complain about that, especially comedians complain about YouTube being like people are constantly videotaping you performing, and I think that when it comes to comedy, I think that this is like a whole tangent, but well, we'll go back to the music.
There's a lot of comedians performing at Pitchfork though, so it's kind of
exactly.
like, which sort of surprised me, but yeah, go for it. Tangent.
Yeah, so no, but I think that YouTube's a great tool for bands because people take video of you playing and you can see how your music or a song is evolving, because I think it changes every time I play with a new lineup, or even if it's the same lineup, I like to change things around. I mean, because I'm playing these songs so frequently, Yeah,
right.
I want to make things interesting for at least me, Right. But back to comedians, though. Comedians really do hate YouTube, which I found recently, because of the fact that people are videotaping their jokes all the time, and then there are these new jokes that immediately they're not new anymore, and people know about them because they'll check them out online.
Right. Yeah, nothing they can do about that, right?
Yeah.
I know there's no longer thought to what is revealed or done.
How do you track drums? You have sort of like a set technique for tracking drums?
Surprisingly, the drums are always recorded for the most part last. When I record the song, it's always the last thing I record. I still think I guess I'm getting a little bit better at recording drums, but I feel like most people can agree that drums are really hard to record and get a decent sound. And I guess there's a big difference between the EP and the full length, because the EP, the drums for the most part are very buried, and the full length, I think the drums are a little bit more out in the open.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just very self-conscious about the drums, I guess. I mean, I love playing with like amazing drummers, and I think that the live show people always say like the drummer was amazing. I think that's like the key is dynamic drums. But with getting that in the recording, it's so hard sometimes, especially I don't know, when you're not like a pro at recording.
So have you had your best success recording drums? What was the setup?
Oh, you're talking about like where the mic placement, or are you talking?
Like more specific, like sort of like recording techniques, or like
I think the best drums I've gotten are I've started this project where I write and record a song and perform in all 50 states. And I did the first song, which is in Philadelphia, I did in a warehouse. And so we had like, 4 or 5 mics set up, and it was just in like a, this giant room, and it just sounded great. We did double takes of it, so it just sounds so full. I was very excited about that. I just had like the perfect levels on everything, and I'm always afraid of clipping. Like that's like a nightmare of mine. Even though the drums, it's like if it clips like once, it's not that big of a deal. But I don't know. Yeah, that was probably the best so far. I think that recording is one of those things you just, with enough practice, you'll get better at it, and you kind of learn what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, very cool.
And I think doing this project is definitely helping that.
Cool.
Developing the recording techniques.
Do you use the sampler for processing and all, or really just purely for triggering samples?
When I'm recording, it's always I love to use the effects on here. Some people really complain about them, but I think they're kind of great.
I think I hear some of those effects in the mixing too.
Yeah. I use a lot. I guess I've started using it a lot. And then sometimes I'll run. I bought this like contact mic recently, but I usually run a mic through to this like box over here, where I just use for percussive purposes. It has like I can bring it out actually. I'm starting to put like ivy all over it, but I screw this on. It goes on top of here, and so I have like something to hit.
Do you record with that, or you just bring that out around live?
I do a lot of like I love to like hit on this stuff. Like I think there's a couple songs on the new album where I just put like effects through to make like different pitches out of the pots and pans.
And you use their contact mic for this.
That's why I'm planning on starting to doing that. Originally it was just like a 57 I would hook up onto here, and then it would go through the sampler and I make it sound like a laser. So it'd be like pew. And so that's what I started doing, and I kind of like I actually recently just got a drum set, so I was just using a snare for the last couple shows, but I think I'm gonna bring this back for Pitchfork and for the rest of the shows I play.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And usually I put cymbals over here too, screw-in cymbals. So